We've had you on our bonus brains all about writing a book.
Yes.
So tell them about Leigh. Why have we chose you to come on here?
Well, maybe it's the fact that I'm a bit of a crazy person. I
Yes,
think.
and we love that.
Most of my books have been described as a little bit out there, a little bit strange. I do have a bit of an infatuation with the supernatural, as you well know, and also powers of the mind, things that are probably not mainstream.
Interesting, fascinating things.
So all my books tend to combine a bit of mystery, maybe sometimes some murders in there. A love story is always a background love story, because there has to be, doesn't there?
Yeah.
But a bit of the eerie, a bit of the supernatural, a bit of you're not really sure what's going on or why. And because I have an interest, and because I do believe in a lot of, you know, the mind reading, I think is a real thing, and I do believe in some, you know, degree of reincarnation, then that is an intrigue to me. So that tends to be the kind of genre that I pick.
But you're not only, by saying you're an author, you're not just an author, are you, Leigh? That you don't just write books. Tell us a bit about the other things you do.
Oh, well, apart from the fact that I've had a full-time job for 60 hours or 70 hours a week till I retired, which was in logistics, actually, in computers. But since then, I've got horses, which I ride. Not very successfully, but I ride horses. I've got 3 at the moment, but only 1 rideable. I look after the grandchildren during the day. I do a lot, quite other things.
But you're kind of missing out the bit where you write panto, don't you?
Oh, yeah, right, pantomimes.
It's quite a huge thing, and you're amazing at it.
Yes. So writing comedy. Now that is an interesting thing, because I have found myself sometimes being in the middle of writing a murder mystery or a supernatural thriller, and then I have to stop to have an hour of joke pantomimes, you know, where the dame's coming on and dropping a cup or
Just
whatever.
How?
And it just, and then I have to have, it's a complete mind shift. And then I'll go back to the supernatural one and I think, where am I, you know, with this? So I do tend to try and, like I said before, that my writing, you know, my novel writing tends to be early mornings. I save panto for the afternoons, when I can have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine or something and start thinking about the jokes.
I have no idea how you manage to do that. So how come the two don't overlap?
Yeah, they probably have, but I've not noticed. I think it's just being in that zone, when I'm in a thriller zone, and then having a mind shift. And I'll write panto maybe when the kids have been around and I'm a little bit more relaxed. But I have found that the early mornings are very conducive to thriller writing. And I have, on occasion, on at least one occasion, went back to bed to my partner and said, you won't believe what's just happened there. I was writing a book and I had to come out of the room because it was too eerie and whatever. And a whole chapter was running away with me. And by that I mean, it was like these characters were driving it and they were saying things that I weren't expecting them to say. And I actually came away from my typewriter and from my laptop and said, this is writing itself, this is too much, it's too eerie. It was like they were, you know, as if I was going to go back and see what happened next, because I didn't know.
I wonder who you have sat on your shoulder that's pushing these buttons.
That's a worrying thing, isn't it? Yeah. So that's, you know, I think sometimes it can get a little bit too involved in that. But I do try to keep it real if I can.
How did you get in? So it's not something you wake up and just become a writer. Where did it all come from? Have you always been good at writing?
Yeah, I started writing short stories and did a few competitions and got a couple of places in competitions on short story writing. And to be honest, that was my passion, because short story writing I found easier, because you didn't have to spend a lot of time on it. You didn't have to dot all the I's and cross all the T's. You could literally just, you've got an idea, you don't have to pad it out. This is the idea. It's almost like writing a synopsis, but you can make it kind of personal and you can make it descriptive, but it doesn't last very long. You know, you've got 4 or 5 pages and it's done. And then I think, oh, that's one. And I must have 40 or 50 short stories looming about.
How long ago was it that you started all this?
Oh, maybe 20 years ago I started writing short stories, and I'd do them just for amusement. Friends would pass them around. Sometimes I'd email them to colleagues at work and they'd say, write me another. Quite often of them, those were quite supernatural, a lot of them.
Did you ever submit them into, like, you see a lot of the is it Take a Break that do the short stories and things?
Yes, I could.
Did you ever put them in there?
That. No, I put them in writing competitions through Writing Magazine and got a couple of results there. But I'd never thought, probably, if I could dig them all out, could make a short story book.
Yeah, that's
really,
that was my next point. I was going to say, because I want to read them.
Short ghost stories or something, but I'm sure that I've still got some of them around somewhere. Yeah.
Because I find I particularly read, and I literally hang on your word for when your next book's coming out. I love your books.
Right.
But I only have time when I'm just about to nod off. I'll just one page more. So the short stories would be perfect.
Ideal. Yeah, you could have one a night, couldn't you?
Yeah. But were you good at English at school, or?
I took A-level English and I took A-level English literature, but probably. When I think back now, at the age of 10, just before you go up to senior school, I remember being picked out with one other person, and I didn't know I was any good at writing. And this junior school teacher said, right, Leigh and Linda, because I remember her name now, are not going out at playtime, they're going to sit and write stories. And they had a word with Mum and said, she's got something here in story writing. And Linda and I wrote actually a play together that the school did. And we'd only be 10 or 11. Well, before we went up, it'd be 10. And I didn't think anything of it, because when I went to senior school, creative writing wasn't a thing. You know, it was just grammar. And then when I got to do English literature, and did A-level English literature, I got quite into Shakespeare and things like that. And I thought, when I look back and I think, oh, maybe that teacher saw something in me a long time before I ever realised I'd got any potential to tell stories.
But without you realising, that'll have planted a seed, won't it? And that'll have bloomed as the years have gone on until you thought, actually, I'm going to do something with this.
Yeah, it was one thing, it was on my bucket list, and I ticked it off, unfortunately, very late when I took early retirement to do it.
And about your pantomimes, where do you get the inspiration from to write the things in your pantomimes?
Well, that tends to be, my son-in-law who runs it, as you're probably aware, he'll give me, he's very traditional, so he won't let me write a pantomime from scratch, which I wanted to do. I always wanted to do a completely new one, but it's very traditional. So it's got to be Aladdin, or it's got to be Peter Pan or Sleeping Beauty. So I tend to try and put a twist on them. And I think the only reason that we don't do a full off-the-shelf script, which can be quite boring, the off-the-shelf pantos. Usually they're held together by 6 main adult characters, and the children just come on and dance and go off. So it's carried fairly easily by professionals. But because he runs a musical theatre group, where there's 20 odd, maybe more than 25 people from 5 years old to whatever age, adults included, and he wants them all to have an acting part.
Yes.
And I get that, because people are paying for the children to go acting, to go to acting school. So I have to then write a script around, 20 odd. So it's not a case of, and they can't all just come on and say, here comes the king, or whatever. They all need to say something. And so it's very specific. So I write a draft encompassing about 20 or 30 people, and then he'll audition. So I do an audition script, and then he'll come back and say, well, we want 10 more of these and 3 less of those, and they all have to have speaking parts. So sometimes I have to write it, rewrite it, and rewrite it. But in the end, you can't buy a script. And you could never find a script off the shelf to do so many adult parts, say 6 adults, teenagers, toddlers, whatever, and have them all acting in character in something that we already know is Sleeping Beauty, because there isn't that many. And there's only so many maids and helpers you can have. So I have to invent little sub-stories to go with it.
You do it so well. But not only that, you're giving them kids the opportunity to go on that stage, aren't they, and have that moment. And the confidence they get from doing that as a young kid. I know from experience, we've done with you for, I don't know how many years, but for a fair few now, we've done pantos and musical. And for my children particularly, the confidence it's given them being on that stage has been absolutely priceless.
Yeah, because I think Troy is very adamant that he wants some of the children to carry off the comedy, and we do that very well, I think. Obviously you've got to be careful, you can't have blue comedy or anything. You've got to have little innuendos in there, but they've got to be funny at a child's level. So there can't be something that a child's going to say that could be misinterpreted. So you've got to keep it clean, and you've got to keep it funny, and that's hard, because a lot of the adult pantomimes, they revolve around innuendo and a second meaning that the adults will pick up on. But we're getting children to say it. You can't get children to say that. So we've got to be funny and cute. But we've also got to carry the adult side of it. So it's a very, very complicated mix.
So what I want to know, and this is really, really selfish, but these are your fabulous books. What next? Where are we going next? And do you have any little ideas or?
Yeah, I've got a few ideas actually, but I've had a little bit of a break over Christmas, and I have got an idea that I'm working on, but it seems to be two ideas that are kind of blending together, and I don't know whether to pick one or pick the other or try and fix them together.
Or if it'll just mash as it comes out.
It may just. I may just start, and I think that's the thing with writing. You find that sometimes I think I don't want to write today because I've got a mental block. I've come to a stage in a book where I don't know what to write next. The best way to get over that is to get back in front of your typewriter, get your laptop open and start writing. And even if you write rubbish for 10, 15 minutes and then go back and change it, it starts to come, it starts to flow. And there's no better way of getting your inspiration back than to actually sit down, start writing. And it's like, even if you get to the end of that bit and you think, I hate that bit, and I've done this, you're writing a book and you think, I like this bit, I love that bit, and I don't like that bit. The only way, don't publish it, the only way is to take that bit that you hate the most and make it the bit that you love the most. Now that's a difficult thing, but once it happens and you find the dreary bit, the bit you didn't like doing, if you didn't like doing it, nobody's going to like reading it. Just concentrate on that and make that the best bit of that book. And when you've done that, you've elevated it above the rest. And if you keep doing that, you bring the whole level of the book up. So it's taking all the dreary bits and put them. So if you spend a morning writing a dreary bit, you're going to change it. So just keep writing. Just keep writing.
And just, we'll round off a bit there, but just, do you find it relaxing to write? Because I know when one of my hobbies is painting, I get so absorbed that I block out the world and I concentrate on what I'm doing, but I'm not really concentrating, I'm just
relaxing.
It's so.
I've seen your artwork and it is amazing.
Thank you. Do you find that with writing?
I don't think you can ever relax the same way as you could with painting because you're going on brush strokes and it's very delicate, isn't it? It's kind of, you don't really have to. You have to concentrate, but you don't have to create. You create, but you don't have to think the plot. And I think, but what I do find is when I say it's not so much. It is a way to relax because you can disappear into another world. You can disappear
and you really do
become that part of that world. But I also think that I have days when I have to finish because it's come to 7:30 and I have my little clock on, and at 7:30 I have to go and get the kids ready for school and everything. So I stop it, but then I get absorbed in the day, and then when I go to bed that night, I'm excited to get up next morning.
Brilliant.
And my alarm clock that was set for 5, I'm up at 4:30 because I can't wait to write that next bit because it cut off at 7:30 the morning before and I wanted to get on with
That's exactly how I feel about reading your books.
Is it?
And there'll be other pages that we're just telling the story or whatever, but every so often you get to a bit, don't you? And I think, I need to turn the light out. Just one more page. I need to turn the light out, just one more page. And like I say, sometimes I think, right, put that bookmark in, put that book down and wait till tomorrow. And like you say, you get, I'm off to bed early tonight just because I want to read the book. But anyway, that is absolutely fabulous. And we're going to have you on again because there is so much you can tell. And I want to give a bit more of an insight about your books and I want to do a few teasers so people know.
Well, that's a little bit of an insight. When you said, have I got any more ideas? I had an idea when I was out in the car. Right? It might not come to anything. It probably won't. But this is the kind of thing that happens. I'm driving along and 3 cars in front, there's the same make and model as my car. And I went, oh, that's the same make and model as my car. And then as I was following it, and I thought, what if that was the same reg? What if she turned and it was me in it? And that was the beginning. And I thought, is there a book here?
Like
so
it.
I don't know. I haven't got
is.
any further than that. But that's when ideas come like that.
So watch these space. And for anybody out there, even if you don't read, try reading. Fabulous. So we'll say bye then, Leigh.
Bye.
And until next time, thank you.
Thank you.